As our guest said to me when I asked him to join the podcast, let's break the internet. I said, sure. I think there's a select few people that will be extremely interested in this conversation, considering our guests to me in my life, we've broken up and made up more times than any woman I've dated.
Isn't that the truth?
And I've never done that. Usually, like, if you piss me off and we have a falling out, you're done. That's just kind of been my MO. I just don't have time for it. Something about this guy. We just keep falling in love over and over again. It's fucking weird. It's his name is, for those that don't know, it's Bryan Sklover. We called him Bull in his radio days. He was Bull. Back in Orlando at Real Radio, even before that at WJRR, when I was there, when we first started working together and we had our first falling out and back and forth. And it's Bull that introduced me to Nader Taters. So, yeah. So if it weren't for Bull, I wouldn't know Nate. And lucky for you, Bull, if it weren't for me, you wouldn't get a chance to meet Brandon, which is like just such a treat. Let me tell you.
Brandon, I know. Brandon, nice to meet you, man. It's a full circle thing. Yeah, Nate. Oh my God, Latitudes, man. I remember the first time, and then Jason, Nate was like the guy that I thought was going to be the creepy listener who was going to infiltrate us, and he did. But he was there every week, but he was super cool every single week.
What I remember about the first time meeting Nate from you was you're like, yeah, he's cool. He's a good guy. And I was at the time, and I've evolved a lot since. I think Nate there's a lot of things, Nate, I'm going to go, and Nate can attest to that. So I've evolved a lot since, but at that time, I was very, if I didn't know you, you couldn't come in my house.
Sure.
It was very protective of who came on the show, the secrets. I was, you could argue that I was kind of paranoid about a lot of this stuff. So when Bull brought Nate into our circle, I was like, okay. I go, let's look at him. He's just this little kind of stumpy guy wearing this extremely tight plaid button-up shirt, and looks like he just jumped off the cover of fucking Abercrombie and Fitch.
Oh my God, Hollister, man, Hollister, Nate,
Hollister Nate.
That was him,
and it was always around us, like, because our hangout was this bar in Orlando. Again, for those that aren't familiar with downtown Orlando, but we'd always be at Latitudes.
Yep.
And Nate would always just like, hey guys. Hey.
Yep. He was always there. He wanted to be a part of it, right? Like he wanted to be a part of it, and he wasn't too like in your face about it. Like we did the Casey Anthony fun run at 5 a.m, and if somebody's going to get up at 5 a.m. to do a bit, they're probably really interested in being there with us. So it's not like he wants to just be there. He wants to be a part of it.
We still reference that, don't we, Nate? We still talk about it.
Do you?
Yeah.
I was, when I was listening to you guys and you did the Latitudes night, I don't know if it was like 2-for-1s or 3-for-1s.
3-for-1s, Wednesday night, 3-for-1s, starting at $2.
Yeah, that's right. So I was like, oh, fuck, this is great. Get to meet the guys I listen to and get awesome drinks or drink deals. And yeah, I remember talking to you, Bull, and just saying, hey, like, you guys ever need me to do anything, let me know, But I tried not to be too pushy about it. So I think one of the first things y'all sent me out to do was there was a Sarah Palin book signing, and you just kind of needed somebody it was at like Barnes and Noble. I can't remember where. But yeah, I think you guys just needed somebody like on the street to kind of talk to people, do like street audio and stuff. Cause I don't think at the time, I think it was like somebody had quit. Maybe it was like Sweatpants Johnson or something like that.
Oh God. Yeah, that sounds about right.
Brandon, you got lucky. You're your name.
Yeah, for real, dude. When I met Jason the very first time, I was just starting at JRR, and I was going to do an overnight shift, and Jason was doing nights. And he was there until midnight. That's when people were actually in the studio all of the time until midnight. And you were doing the rubber room. And I remember I walked in and you're like, yeah, nice to meet you. You look like a booger. And I'm like, oh God, that's not going to happen. You've been looking for a booger your whole life. But no, there was always but you know what though, dude, you were so creative. I think we were both creative in creating names for these people. Pee-wee, that was an accurate one. We called, Sandra Punky, and now she's doing really well for herself. Like we found these, you always found a way to not force I hope this isn't too cheesy, like I'm blowing you up right off the bat, but like you were always really good at finding the right name for people, but you gave it time to breathe. You found the right name for him. So Brandon, it must just mean there's nothing really cool about you. You're just the dude from the picture, and that's the best they can do is the name that you have.
Yeah, you could have been Tube Sock Tommy.
Tube Sock Tommy. He was another good one. Face. I always thought the Face name
Yeah.
was really good. We had this Brandon, this intern, really good looking guy, way cool dude, just like the coolest guy in the world. And ladies loved him. I think he had like a steady girlfriend though, but he was just a great dude.
Yeah.
And you know, and he was good looking, so we called him Face. And he's one of the biggest mysteries of my career because one day he was there and the next day he was gone, and no one. It wasn't just a me thing. No one ever talked to him again. He just fucking disappeared from
Fell
the
off.
Nobody, right? Ever again.
Never spoke to that man ever again, ever. And I lived in Brevard County for several years. Never found him. Never anything. Never saw him again.
One of my favorite ones was I think Tim Vestite, because didn't he like make out with a guy or something?
Yeah, Tim Vestite was he's yeah
Not the guy. I'm just talking about the name.
The name?
as far as names go.
yeah.
The name, but not the guy. The guy was a total dick.
You know what he's doing now? He's the PA announcer for Orlando City down there, the soccer team.
Oh, really? Good for him.
Yeah. He's
Yeah.
doing good. He'll
Yeah.
reach out when he needs something, like most people in the industry. But he's doing good for himself. We had a really good track record with interns and where they went on to. You know,
What? I think I might have been and when I was applying for the internship and everything, I was terrified because I knew everybody had the name that was kind of making fun of them. And so I'm like just racking my brain, like, what are they going to call me? What's my fucking dumbass radio name going to be? And I was like the first one that was just Nate. Like,
that was
I just didn't have a name. So I was like, all right, I'm cool with that.
Well, you know, I think if I were to Socrates the situation, I would say it's because I was scarred from when I was an intern. It's like 95. Like when they called me Buckethead, Doc and Johnny called me I was furious. I was absolutely furious. I almost quit. And the only reason I did not quit is one, because I'm not a quitter, but two, we were the first gig or appearance or whatever we did. It was like 2 weeks after they gave me the name, and I'm sitting there contemplating whether to quit or not. I was like, this is bullshit. Fuck these guys, blah, blah. I don't need this. You know, and we go and do this charity basketball game. They played these basketball games at high schools to raise money for whatever. And you know, I used to play a lot of basketball at the time, and we were playing basketball, and I'd score, you know, I'd hit a bucket when and people were going crazy, and they were coming up to me after, and that was like my first, you know, rush of quote unquote fame, local fame. I was like, all right, fuck it, I'll deal with Buckethead. That's fine.
Let me ask you, did Buckethead, the name for you, kind of like, because you have a complicated past up to that point, did it give you an opportunity to kind of be someone that you wanted to be but weren't able to because of, like, that's what Bull did for me. It let me be someone that I had never been able to be my whole life, and I was able to embody the Italian guy from New Jersey and the young kid and all the other kind of things. Did you ever get that kind of thing with your name?
It's actually the opposite. I wish that I never, like, people thought Buckethead was a character. Even still to this day, one of my mentors who brought me to Atlanta, you know, he had said to me at one time when I was doing the show here, he goes, I want more of the Buckethead character. And I'd been told that numerous times in my career.
Right.
And I'm like, well, it's not really a character. So people thought it was a gimmick. It was a character. There was a lot of me. It was really just me with a goofy, fucked up name.
Exactly.
So I wish that I would have just been intern Jason or Bailey or whatever the case may be. So I would, you know, that was when I was trying to transition before I left. And one of the reasons I left Orlando is because I didn't think I could get rid of that brand. You know, I couldn't transition. And I was like, I just got to leave it all behind in order to do that. But I couldn't talk about serious stuff, you know, like I remember when we did the Rick Scott stuff, and it just drove me insane. Social media going, oh yeah, because I want to get political advice by a guy named Buckethead. Fucking drove me nuts.
Right. Because the bit itself was really valid. It was, I mean, you were trying to contribute. Yeah, you were kind of poking passively to the governor, but it was still a valid thing. We were trying to find jobs for people. Like we were using the airwaves for good. So I get what you're saying there. Yeah. The Bull thing, I guess I'm kind of experiencing that now where I've moved to Savannah. I don't live in Orlando anymore. Kind of pivoted to a different career, which I'm fully in love with, like I was with broadcasting. But a lot of the reason I had to leave Central Florida was because everything, the 20 years of broadcasting that followed me, it really literally followed me everywhere. And I was Bull from the radio to everybody there. And I just couldn't do that anymore for my own life.
I love seeing your success.
Thank you.
I envy your success. I like to see somebody, because for you don't really understand it, but when you're in radio, there's an addiction. There's an addiction to the good, the bad, the ugly. There's addiction to all of it. But there's also, when you are not in radio, you're not doing radio, you feel like a failure, especially when people that are not as talented as you are still on the air getting
Right.
paid. And there's a feeling of failure inside. You have to be man enough or woman enough to bypass all that and move on with your life. So whenever I see former broadcasters moving on with their life and successful in a different career, I'm very envious. So
I appreciate that. It wasn't easy, Jason. It was not easy at all.
Oh, I'm sure.
It went right up into December, late December of last year. The last thing I said it very upfront to my wife and to other people in my life. This is the last thing I have left for broadcast. And it was with Mike Harvey and myself. We tried to self-distribute a show. Momentum was there, but it was just hitting some walls. And maybe the hardest thing wasn't walking away from broadcasting as opposed to walking away from Mike. But there's just nothing left in that industry for me anymore. And luckily, and again, I'll refer back to the show. The skills that I got doing the BS for those 4 years in production led me to my first job in pro sports outside of PA, because PA is just an extension of being on the radio, right? You're still the voice, you're still doing that broadcasting. But when I got the opportunity to run artificial crowd sounds for the Toronto Raptors when they were in Tampa and playing their season during COVID, I was sitting there with a launch pad and different buttons for different volume levels of the crowd. And all of a sudden, I'm producing a radio show in an arena. I'm doing sound effects and supplying this trade that didn't exist 3 months ago, and now it doesn't exist at all anymore. We're back in arenas, thank God. But it was so hard. Like it was really, really hard. Like breaking out my microphone and stuff like that. This stuff has been away since December, not just during the pack for the move. Like it was hard to walk away from. But I think the slap of the reality is that unless you're going to go both feet in like you're doing, and you're doing it well, you're doing it very well. There's not a whole lot in it left for people who are creative anymore.
No.
At all.
Yeah, I totally agree with you.
Yeah.
And then I also think this way with podcasting is, the future. I mean, I keep telling people in the next 10 years, frequencies won't be a thing. It's going to be apps. Frequencies will be the secondary to the radio station in order to promote the app. And each radio station will have an app, and then under a conglomerate, kind of like an iHeart does, but it'll all be app-based in vehicles, so on and so forth. So it's not going to be much different than podcasting, other than the fact that you'll have, rights to music and so on and so forth. But for a little background for our audience, who is this guy? So Bull started his career in Orlando, just like I did, and you were on what was it?
Cool 100, Big 100, the oldie stations, the Big
oldie-
Kahuna.
Right, the Big Kahuna. And when you hear the name Mike Harvey, he is a legend in the radio business. He is an icon in the radio business, and he's one of the smartest, most intelligent, nicest people in the radio business. He was doing mornings. Bull was an intern. He was the Big Kahuna over there with other great radio legendary broadcasters like Bob Berry and those guys. And Bull and I just happened to meet, and I was looking for help because, young guy, all these ideas, wanting this big show and an ensemble cast, and I needed help. So I was trying to recruit people. Bull wanted to get into that world. The rock world comes in. I'm like, I want you to be Booger. He was like, go fuck yourself. I'm not Booger.
Not happening.
Not happening.
Bull is good. Go with Bull. Just take Bull.
But I didn't name you Bull. Pat Lynch named you Bull, right?
So kind of. So when I sent my first air check to Pat, he said, you really got the Jersey Italian thing going. You should be something like Gotti or something like that. And I was like, all right, I get what you're saying. I don't know if John Gotti is the character I want to embody. So let me sit on it for a minute. But Sammy the Bull Gravano, one of the most notorious hitmen in the mafia days, etc., matched with my size. I was a lot bigger when I was younger than I am now. And I just thought Bull worked really well. And it was the Bull, of course, because I was 20 and thought so much of myself. But yeah, so that's where bull came from. Yeah.
Yeah. Let me say this. You have lost a ton of weight.
95 pounds since last June.
What have you been doing? Yeah.
I hate that question. And I knew you were going to ask me. It's the hardest question to answer, Jason, because everybody wants to think there's some magical like calculation. There's not. This has saved my life. Zero. I don't know if you drink zero soda, but
That's all I drink. Well, if I do drink soda, usually, but it's never the sugar. You got to stop with the sugar.
you got to get away from the sugar. It started last year. I just touched the type 2 diabetes line with my doctor, and he'd been trying to push a weight loss surgery on me, and my dad had that, and it didn't work for him. And I wasn't going to do it. And I told him, when the time comes, I'm going to do it. I will stop. I will change my habits, etc. Because you can do a surgery. You can, we're going to make your stomach the size of a fist. All right, cool. Well, my fist is really big, first of all. Second of all, you can tell me my stomach's this big, and I'm still going to fill it with chocolate chips and regular soda. It doesn't matter. It has to change the habit. So we spent a lot of money on groceries in the first month, my wife and I, trying to find keto options. And we're not doing keto, but those groceries tend to fall under what we're eating now: low sugar, artificial sweeteners, etc., natural sweeteners. So we found bread. We found the substitutes for the things we need to eat every day. So we found a bread that we liked a lot. We like to eat frozen pizza at home. We have wellness wrap pizzas now. We get those wellness wraps and make pizzas from that, and they're delicious. And you make buffalo chicken pizza or scrambled egg pizza or whatever. So we found replacements for the everyday things. I still eat chocolate chips in abundance. Fucking Savannah is a candy city, but we have a rule. If we want a praline, we're going to walk our ass a mile to River Street Sweets, and we're going to buy one, and we'll eat one. We're not going to get a whole box and kill it at 11 at night. So it's just a couple of habits. It wasn't easy, but
Yeah.
discipline is what it is. And that's what people don't like to hear, the discipline. But that's really what it comes down to.
You have to also brainwash yourself to hate certain foods, like have a personal relationship and say, you remember when I lost all the weight and I've put, not all of it back on, but I've put weight back on muscle because I do testosterone maintenance, and the FDA has just recently green lit DECA, which is a steroid, but under doctor's supervision. So, put on the weight, put on the muscle. It's a give and take relationship, but my weight can fluctuate 5 to 10 pounds in a day.
Same with me.
It's crazy, whether it's water weight or what have you. But there are certain foods that if I eat, I'll just blow up.
Yeah.
And
same
so
here.
I've had to brainwash myself to say, fuck you, food. I hate you. I don't want you anywhere around me.
Right. No, I'm with you. Look, we had Chinese food last night. We don't eat Chinese food very often. I don't eat pasta anymore. I try to stay away from rice. That stuff just bloats me. And look, I'm 40 years old. It takes me a long time to pass some of these things. So rice is it'll take 2 or 3 days for me to get rid of it all. But yeah, I haven't had to struggle. I still eat chocolate chips every night, but I don't eat M&Ms. That's chocolate candy. You also have to understand the way, food is in general. I hate that once you say things like what I'm about to say, it's like, oh, conspiracy, this or that. But food in America sucks in the way it's programmed and pushed out to us. It has extra sugar than it needs to. So if you are a chocolate person, go and buy a bag of dark chocolate chips. Don't get Ghirardelli dark chocolate. Don't get Dove dark, because that's extra sugar. Eat a handful of chocolate chips. It's going to be more fulfilling. You can eat more of it, and you're not going to get extra added sugar. And then you can continue to enjoy it and still see the fruits of your results. That's just basically what I've been doing.
That's what Nate is always screaming now that he's down in Mexico, because the food down there, it's a totally different ballgame. And I agree. You go down there where he's at in Playa del Carmen, and you can just taste the difference of the food. The big difference.
Oh yeah. Even like certain fast foods, like we have a McDonald's and a Domino's and stuff down here, but they're not allowed to use a lot of the things that are legal in the US. They're illegal here in a lot of other parts in the world. So like the first time we went to the mall, and Alexis got some chicken nuggets. She was just craving them from McDonald's, and they were so much better. Just I don't know if they used different grease or what, but like the chicken was real meat, and it was so much tastier, and she didn't feel like garbage, a couple hours later.
I still eat McDonald's nuggets. Like if I'm leaving a Tampa game and it's late, but I just get nuggets. I don't get nuggets and fries and a drink, or even nuggets. And Nate, how many times McDonald's on drunk nights, there would be the 2 for $5 and then the fries and then a sandwich to eat on the way home and the big soda. Like it's just a little bit of self-control also. I still eat nuggets probably more than I should, but it's just all, yeah.
I can't
Cutting
wait
things
for
out.
20 years from now, Nate, for us to have this conversation with Brandon when he gets fatter. Because remember when he first started as our intern, he's a skinny little dumb redneck from South Georgia, and then like we saw him pop up a year later, and he's this big fat redneck from South Georgia.
Where in South
need to-
Georgia are you from?
That's not South Georgia. He keeps calling it South Georgia. It's Noonan. It's like 30 minutes south of the airport.
South Atlanta.
I don't know that. I know my brother and sister-in-law also moved to Georgia at the same time we did. They moved over to Valdosta, so we're taking our family out of Florida, and I guess they are proper South Georgia is Valdosta.
Yeah.
How close are you to Savannah and Noonan, Brandon?
It's like a 4-hour drive, I think.
No, it's 4 hours from me in Roswell.
Yeah,
Well,
he's
maybe
not any
3.5.
closer. He's just south. He still has to go over quite a ways.
Up and
so-
over 16 probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, we usually take 16. Yeah, I got a buddy that lives down there.
Maybe one day you learn how to spell it and you can go visit Bull.
Well, Jason, I'm not going to start selling you guys on our new hockey team, but I'm hoping that
Yeah.
I don't even, what is the proper name of, so I really do love, I mean this, Jason, from the bottom of my heart, and I guess I'm still living vicariously through you because, like you said at the beginning, we had many falling outs, and all of our falling outs, looking back at them, were fairly professionally based, and just the tensions at that time. I never doubted my respect from you in a professional way, and I hope you never doubted my respect for you as a professional. But I'm so excited for what you're doing.
Well,
Like
thank you.
it's like, because Jason, look, we worked for the largest media company in the world, right? Okay. They boast they have 50 million subscribers to their app. Can one of their talent live stream video on their app? No, they can't.
Mm-mm.
Why not? You have 50 million followers. You have 50 million downloads. Can your talent, your influencers, can they curate playlists? Can they create different content on their own and distribute it through your channel? No, they can't. You're pushing it out to everywhere else. So someone like you comes along and you have all the ideas. I love the 3 thing. I'll be honest, I don't listen because I don't subscribe, because I don't subscribe to content. Otherwise, I would. I probably won't be able to hear this, will I? Unless I subscribe.
Oh, well, that's not true, because now, especially when this airs, we're changing the way we distribute the podcast, where subscribers will get commercial-free episodes plus bonus episodes, bonus giveaways, and our extra podcast that we carry. But
Great.
we've opened it up to non-subscribers for episodes Monday through Friday with commercials.
That's wise. That's smart. I learned at a boot camp 2015 in Atlanta. The woman from Pandora was there, and she said, well, people may think that Pandora is free, but it's not. They're paying for they're paying with their time for the advertising. So it's very wise. But what I was going to say is that I don't know, you have so many different shows and things that are on your channel. I don't know the proper way to address it, but I hope whatever it is, maybe we can build a field trip for you guys to come out to Savannah
Sure.
for a game this season, and and check out this incredible building we have here, the End Market Arena. It's a brand new arena, and it's sick.
Are they going to have concerts and stuff there too, or just hockey?
So the Eagles opened the venue earlier this year in February, 11,000 people, which was really awesome. The Eagles have been playing stadiums and large scale arenas, and they opened this building down here. Bon Jovi was here, Jimmy Buffett was here, Kane Brown is here tomorrow night. We'll be out there for that one. Breaking Benjamin was here last week, so there's a lot happening. Savannah's been kind of underserved with the mainstream kind of routing of things because they didn't have a building that was conducive for modern touring, and just the other venues and the like. So yeah, I mean, concerts. It's going to be a multi-purpose building. Harlem Globetrotters were here. It's an awesome place.
And you probably have VIP access to anything in that building, don't you?
So here's the thing about it. Savannah, because they never had anything like this, all of those experiences are gone. VIP has, as soon as they opened the building, it was sold and gone. Like, we're going to be sold out for opening night, like in 2 weeks. And for opening night's not till November 5th. We're very possibly going to sell out every one of our games before we get to opening night.
Wow.
So, but yeah, I mean, as far as hosting you and everybody that would join for a field trip, we'll make sure that it's a special time.
So the hockey team that Georgia has is called what? They're the Ghost Pirates, right?
So yeah, so in Savannah, we're the Savannah Ghost Pirates. Atlanta has a ECHL hockey team also. They're going to be our primary rival.
Okay.
It's the Atlanta Gladiators.
There was once a hockey team in Macon, right? Weren't they called the Macon Whoopie?
The Macon Whoopie. Yep. One of the
Yeah.
greatest teams in minor league sports.
Isn't that the most brilliant? When I learned that, but it was just recently. I was like, well, that's kind of ironic. You know, Bull and I are talking again, and he's, you know, your title for the Savannah Ghost Pirates is you're the marketing director, right?
I'm the director of community relations and game presentation. So it kind of marketing capacities, but just in the structure. Yeah, that's my official title.
That's a big. That's a home run, buddy. That's a good.
I get to go in the community, get people excited about our team and the sport of hockey, which I've had a passion for my whole life. And I want to get back to that because I owe you a lot for that too. And I'll explain in a second. But beyond that, what was I saying? Now I want to tell you how you impacted my hockey life right now.
Well,
So
your job title, you get out there and you get people excited. Yeah.
and then I get to get them into the arena and give them a world-class experience in minor league sports, the kind of things that we do with the Tampa Bay Lightning and with the NHL kind of product. We've just affiliated with the Vegas Golden Knights, who are like top of the line in game presentation for pro sports anywhere. So like I get to go out, get somebody excited for hockey, and then I get them into the arena and I blow their mind and give them a memorable experience. It's the most perfect thing for me. It really
That's
is.
awesome. Yeah, it sounds like a great gig. It really does. That's awesome.
It all started, man. Like I don't know if you remember when the Solar Bears came to Orlando, but we were on the air and they made an announcement that a hockey team was coming. And I remember, I can remember like it was yesterday. I jumped on the talkback and I said, I'm breaking off for a second. And I think you were interviewing somebody, so it wasn't a problem. But I called my contact at the mayor's office and I said, I need to talk to that guy right now. And that guy ended up being Bob Arablo, who was one of the initial owners and president of the Solar Bears. And then he went to Jacksonville and started a team, and he's our president here in Savannah. So when I talked to Bob that first time, which was, 10 minutes after they announced it, he took my phone call, which was really awesome. Wanted to have him on the show. And then I had personal motive. I grew up around hockey. My dad was in hockey in the tri-state New York area for 26 years. It's in my blood. I love it. When I moved to Florida in 98, I left hockey up north. There was no hockey. You know, the Solar Bears were minor league IHL, and you couldn't go online to watch games remotely, and the coverage wasn't what it is now. So when the Solar Bears came back and I had an opportunity to be involved with that, it was really very invigorating for me on so many levels. It was a passion that was gone for so long, and you allowed us to take time on the show to talk about a minor league hockey team in the South. So that was, being able to have that vehicle to promote the team. And then obviously once my time at iHeart ended that time, because it's happened twice, once it ended that time, the Solar Bears kept me on, which they didn't have to do. It's sports marketing. I knew that they knew that we had the audience and that we could probably help them sell some tickets and group nights and all that stuff, which was fine. But they kept me on when they didn't need to. And long story short, 10 years later, Bob had this opportunity for me to come up here and join the Ghost Pirates. And, it's such a passion. And I mean it, like the show and the ability to reach out to him. And that's where the confidence that make that call. If I didn't have the show to go by, I had no reason to call that guy. I'm just some random schmuck on the street.
Well, I do remember this. I actually brought it up not that long ago. I think I forget what we were talking about on this show, but I remember Bob coming on, and I had known Bob prior when the Solar Bears were around before, because I used to go to the games years prior.
Sure.
And had a blast. And actually I've got old school radio war stories of that include not the Solar Bears' fault, but include the Solar Bears.
Sure.
And I remember selling you to Bob as the PA guy, and you were going through, I never talked to you about this, but I knew you were going through a soul searching period of your life. You were experimenting with doing things to boost your confidence. One being singing the national anthem in front of a crowd of people. You were doing all these, and I just noticed that. I was like, he's searching for something. And I remember getting Bob on and doing the hard sell for you. And of course, the radio side of it is, oh, watch, he's going to screw it up. Go out to the game and screw it up, because that was unfortunately my mentality at the time, because of how I was kind of raised in the business, knowing that you weren't going to screw it up. And you crushed it, and you've made obviously a successful career out of it. So I do remember that like it was yesterday. Remember, I still have Bob's number in my phone, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's I mean, that was instrumental to me, man. It gave me some good years with my dad before he went upstairs in 2016. So it was really, that's I really mean it. And I'll talk about all of it as much or as little as you'd like to, but all of the things now in retrospect that you and I went through, I know were for greater meaning, and I know that without those things, I couldn't have grown into who I am. I don't like to regret things because I was the person that I was at those times, and the reasons that I felt the way I felt were valid for myself at the time. But now in retrospect, like all of those things helped me to get here, and to that extent, Jason, like right from the beginning, you gave me the opportunity to do something that I truly loved, and as much as I thought I loved talking on the air, I really don't care about that attention anymore. I like putting on a show. And I really like, I used to send Nate down to production, like, hey, go find 5 beds that sound like, a French restaurant somewhere, like I enjoyed doing that a lot. And you gave me the opportunity to do it. And,
Well,
maybe.
hold
Yeah.
on. That's
Yeah.
not true. And this is, I'd mentioned that we had, I think, 3 falling outs. So,
Mhm. Do you remember the first one?
the first one was my wedding.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
You were supposed to be my best man. And I forget what happened, but I remember we got in a screaming match and I told you to go fuck yourself or something. You're not my best man anymore. The second one, I don't remember.
So the wedding was the second one. The first one
Okay.
was Hard Rock Vault. Do you remember this?
What the broadcasts that
You
I
were
did?
doing a broadcast with the Marty, and it sounded like shit. It wasn't you. It was fucking Marty. It was awful old technology. And I was like, dude, we can't put this on the air. It just sounds awful. And you were insistent that it has to go. And I think I called Pat, and I was like, Pat, we can't put this on. It's just going to sound really bad. He's going to be unhappy about how it sounds on the tape and the whole thing. And that was the first kind of falling out that we had. And then the second one was the best man thing. Yeah.
So I remember that broadcast because that was the first time I got to meet Slash and Nikki
Yep.
Sixx and Dee Snider, and
Yep.
Dickerman called me and screamed at me because I forgot that you were running the board, that we played like we were playing music that the station wasn't playing because
Right.
rock radio was not digging into that dirt rock and the glam rock stuff.
Absolutely.
And he was furious with me, and I had really just started, but it was a recorded interview and you didn't want to play it, I guess.
It was recorded or live, but either way, it was so spotty. It was from Hard Rock Vault, which was on iDrive, I think, in front of the old Matador Mall or whatever it
Into the
was.
Titanic Museum.
That's exactly what it was. And I remember, yeah, you were super pumped because you were at Slash and you had some other like big names that were there.
Yeah.
And I felt for you, but in retrospect, the real bitch of the whole thing was that we were victim of technology. Then, like right now, we could have you have a cell phone, and that problem never happens, right?
Wow. Okay, so that was the first falling out, and I
Yep.
guess I just got pissed off, and I was like, whatever.
Yeah.
The wedding was the second, and then the third was obviously the big one, which was my last show in Orlando at Real Radio. It was me, you, a guy named Otto, and it all really went downhill when Prince left. And that hurt me more than anything because I didn't see that coming, and he trashed me on his way out. And I never really understood why or got an explanation for that. And, and then when I left, I stayed silent. I didn't say a thing. And you guys kind of had a field day on social media.
Yeah. Well, I wasn't a part of your last show. I was let go December, 6 months before your last show on Real Radio.
You're right. You were.
Yeah.
You were let go, and the day that you were let go, Otto and I were taken into our operations manager's office, and he said, "If I had a plan," this is what made me want to get ready to leave. But he said, "If I had a plan B, I would fire you guys today." And I was like, "Wow, fuck you, dude."
Yeah.
That's such a shitty thing to say.
Yeah, it really is.
But I had already planned my exit after the meeting in which I thought that you, Otto, and this guy Drone, which was another producer we had brought on, were like it was like you three against me, and I was like, what is happening here?
Yeah.
And I remember walking out of that meeting and calling my agent at the time and said, I'm done, find me a way out. And that was the first day that I started my exit. And the next year I really didn't give a shit about that show,
Yeah.
which was shitty. But anyway, back to where you were wrong about me giving you the opportunity. So in all three cases, most of the blame, if not all of the blame, goes to me. And one of the biggest regrets that I had with you at Real Radio was that you were so creative. And I had the same problem with my producer in Tampa too, Ethan. So creative, but I was such a control freak, and I wanted things done my way, a certain way. When I got to Atlanta, that changed. I opened that up and I delegated power a lot more. You guys wanted to work more. I didn't want you to work more because I felt like I needed to do it all. And there was a day that you had put together like some Nirvana parody or something. And I think I just shit all over it. And I was like, I didn't think anything at the time because I know at the time I wasn't trying to be an asshole or something like that, but I just didn't take a second to realize how much of an effect that could have on somebody else, and if that were me, you wouldn't want somebody to talk to me like that. So there were so many ideas that you had and so many things that you want to do that I just never took you up on. And, I go back and when we started talking again, I reached out to you because, we were doing these way J Bay back moment things on the podcast, and you're just so good on the air.
Thank you.
Not only as a personality, but as a producer, and I didn't realize how good I had it with a number two guy like you, until I got into a different situation. And
Sure.
it's just, it's like, so I just didn't realize it. And we put together some really good shows and good content.
Absolutely.
So I'll be the first to step up and say, dude, on me, ego, narcissism, asshole. And I'll take full responsibility.
Well, that means a lot, Jason, and I appreciate you saying that because I think the first factor is we are both older and wiser, right? I mean, I'm 40 now, so you're how many years ahead of me? Not very many, but several.
Yeah, so 7 years.
Okay, whatever it is. We're older and wiser. And listen, dude, we were a part of a machine of a radio station where ego really reigned supreme.
Oh, yeah.
So like even if we wanted to grow as people, we had to feed into the ego because that was what that whole thing was all about. And that goes back to what I was saying before, where I don't regret who I was or what I did or what I said. What I will say is I think some of those thoughts that I had were bull. And that's where I was saying that it was somebody that I feel I've never felt as much like myself, Jason, as I have in the last like 6 months since the process with Savannah has started, because I don't feel like I have to be that kid that I was when I was Bull. Bull was the young me. And look, I had a lot of fucked up things going on in my head at a lot of different times. We have an equally, while different, we have an equally complicated background, whereas we had complications that molded us to be who we were and why we did the things that we did, etc. But what I think, as far as performance-wise, if I could go back, I would just want to tell myself and you, this is a performance and a show. When you leave here, be Bryan and Jason, but when you're here, be Buckethead and Bull. And so, dude, I was listening to the porn versus tennis bit, right? You remember that one?
Yeah.
I sent you that list with it. I don't know if you've listened to it. I hope that you play it because it's one of my favorite moments of the 4 years because I don't know if you remember it, but we talked about tennis players, and I know that you're even deeper in tennis now, which is really freaking awesome. I've always had a soft spot for tennis, so I know you have too. So I'm really excited you're able to do that. But we were talking about like how the women sound when they hit the ball, and then how men sound and this and that. And then someone made a comment, you can't tell the difference. So I pulled clips of porn stars and tennis players. Well, I picked two guys. Which in retrospect, listening to it now, it's like, this is fucking hilarious that I did that. Whether I meant to or not is irrelevant. You could hear how you were seething about it, and you could hear how I was like, well, what's the big deal? I think that the problem there was like we didn't know the buffer in between that we really were on a performance level with that. And I think I took your anger about it to be legit when maybe you were being the angry host and just playing that part. So that's where I wasn't seeing it the right way either. So we could sit here all day and both apologize to the ends of the world, but I really do think, Jason, like there's been a brother kind of friendship with us when we do have our friendship, and I think that you can't have a brotherhood kind of friendship with somebody if you don't really respect what they bring to the table as a person. And I still say it, there's a lot of the reason I can't do radio anymore is because we never had the opportunity to do more. If we could have the opportunity to do more, God only knows where we would be right now. And I wouldn't do it with anybody else.
Yeah, it sucks because, the radio business, they get to kind of pick and choose for the most part of what they're going to put together based off of budget, and to be able to time up who you want to work with at a specific time. It just doesn't happen. And, the powers that be, the brilliant minds that are management in a lot of these places think, well, you can just do it with anybody. Why? No. This is not how it should work. So I think, the radio business in itself is going to get a huge wake up call here in the next 5-ish years when a lot of personalities decide to say, hey, go fuck yourself. I got enough money in the bank. I'm going to podcast and I'm going to sell advertising for a third of what you're selling it for. And they'll get an ROI 6 times versus 3 times.
100%.
Everybody's going to be happy with that.
I mean, there's no secret that TikTok influencers are making more money than radio talent is.
Yeah.
They're getting paid.
Every social media platform influencer is making more money than a lot of radio people are.
Are you comfortable with if you were referred to as an influencer or a content creator? Are you comfortable with those titles?
Content creator, absolutely. Influencer, not so much.
No, I would say you're an OG influencer, Jason, right from the beginning.
An OG influencer. I was called an influencer a couple weeks ago. Somebody had messaged me and they were commenting on something. I forget what it was that I said. And they were like, and I think I said it on social media, and they're like, you're such a great influencer, but you're such a great hashtag influencer. And I was like, I don't think I've ever been called in it, because I think of some young kid, some hot model on Instagram, that's trying to get you to drink squeezy juice or whatever. That's what I think of an influencer. But as a content creator, yes, I want to own that title, because I owned that title when I was on the radio. I liked to say I am a content creator. It's become a buzz term. And now what we're doing with this project, this podcast thing, we create great content. This is what radio should be, in my
100%.
At least talk radio should be.
Yep.
Without restrictions and all this other stuff. So I think it's good. Now, as long as if we could just get Brandon up to par, and get him to work and wake up and learn how to spell simple words and stuff like that, we would be fucking flying high, Nate. I'm telling you, we would be on the next level of podcasting.
We got to get him out.
What's that?
Put it all on my shoulders.
Yeah, well, it's all.
What did Brandon do?
No,
Actually, I got a better question. What is that behind the wall on Brandon's wall?
Hold on. The first question is not the right question. The question is what does Brandon not do?
Okay.
And everybody wants to know. I say he looks like his studio is in Ukraine right now. It looks like he's Zelensky, hiding from Putin. Doesn't it look like he's been kidnapped or something? It looks like a Law and Order SVU episode.
What is that on your wall? What does that say?
That was my old workout schedule that I've since not followed.
How old?
Those are the rules for the children he keeps in his basement.
Oh, come on.
It was done in Braille. That was a time when he was blind.
Oh my
God. Well, let me go back. I was talking about your history, and when you came over to join me at the rock station in Orlando, and we were trying to do something, and then we got the opportunity in 2004 to do mornings, which was huge.
Very exciting.
I was not ready for at all, and we thought we were just killing it because we had the rock on, and for Scorpion King and all this stuff, and they ended up moving us to afternoon drive. And we go to afternoon drive.
Well, they put you at afternoon. They wanted to break us up. They put you at afternoon drive and said, you can go if you want, but we're going to put you in overnights. And that's when I went to do overnights there.
That's right, because they wanted to split us up.
There's only one 2-man show on that station, and it wasn't you and I.
That's right.
That's no disrespect to the 2-man show.
but
there was only one.
yeah, there was some egos definitely playing a part there.
Yeah.
And so I didn't know what I was doing. I go to afternoon drive and I thought they wanted me to do a talk show, which I didn't know how to do a talk show at the time.
Right.
And so I remember bringing in Bubba Ray Dudley, and we had just become friends, and I'm trying to put together these bits that were just fucking horrendous. And my ratings sucked. And I got yanked into the office, and he said, look, you got to listen to your program director. If you don't, you're going to get fired. And they started air checking me. And I was like, this sucks. Fuck you. And I was like, but I don't want to get fired. So I'll listen to you. I listened to them. Guess what? They were right. And that's when I learned the first exit ramp theory in radio.
I've heard that.
Yeah. And so then the show blows up, and then I get offered the job in Tampa. I get blown out in Tampa. I come back, and we're doing nights at Real Radio. And that was great for me personally and professionally. I was going through the divorce and all that stuff. I could get back and do some partying. And for some reason, I'm in my 30s at this time, and all I'm attracting are 21-year-olds, which was weird and great and odd and strange all at the same time.
All of those things.
And then Bull's over on the coast, Melbourne. He lives over in Melbourne, and he reaches out to me one night, and we hadn't talked I think we kind of talked a little bit at Earth Day Birthday. That was when you had told me you were first diagnosed with MS, and I was like, God, man, and then so we, it was cool. And you were like, hey, if anything I can do to help, and you started giving me ideas, and then you came over and you started doing cue cards, and I was like, this is great. And then they gave me, I use this term loosely, a budget to bring in, to hire Bull and Prince the intern, which was nothing. I mean, it was like poverty level money.
Yeah.
And so we started gaining some momentum. We didn't have to prove much at nights. And then the midday guy gets fired because he tries to shoot his wife and dogs.
Oh, he shot his dog and his wife. He shot the dog first, and then he shot the wife.
Shot the dog first.
Poor little dog.
And fast forward a couple years later, I ended up getting that guy hired in Atlanta.
All
I
right.
didn't like what they had on the show there.
Did you really?
You didn't know that? You didn't hear that?
No, I didn't.
So we're talking about Shannon Burke. So Shannon, outside of almost murdering his wife and dogs, right? He's a very good radio personality. And at the time in Atlanta down the hall, we had a news talk station, and they were auditioning people for the midday show. And I was fairly good. I mean, I was in good graces with the program director at the station at the time. And I remember walking by, I was on a break or something, and the show was over, and I'm walking by the station, and the speakers were on that station today, and they're auditioning people, which is a very difficult job to win a radio job in an audition live on the air. I get it. But there's this fucking kid in there, and he's spent 20 minutes telling his audience on a news talk station, and he had bullet points. It was all written out, how he's going to make talk radio better. I wanted to like, what the fuck?
Of course.
And then I heard rumors of some other candidates that they were looking at, which I did not want in the building. So it was very strategic. And I was like, well, there's a guy that's out of work. He's probably never going to get hired again. I don't know. So I texted him, and I told the program director. He came up and lightning in a bottle, because he got lucky. Not that he didn't deserve it, but he got really lucky. The first day there was a story of a guy or a woman getting attacked by a Muslim woman, and there was an American flag involved. It was like, check off every box for a conservative talk radio station.
That's it.
And then the husband was listening and calls in like, oh, dude. Yeah.
You're hired. You're in.
You're hired. Lightning in a bottle. Yeah. Lightning in a bottle. So that was that. So then I go to middays and Bulls there, and we have a very successful show at the beginning. And then, Prince, the other producer guy, leaves, and it just kind of falls off, and we're having a falling out. And really a lot of that, my attitude at the time, even before that big meeting, the pipe bomb meeting, I was becoming disgruntled, in which I promised myself it wouldn't happen in Orlando. I wanted to stay in Orlando. I would move back to Orlando. I love Orlando. You? Yeah, I do. I love the city.
Interesting.
But I'd move back to Tampa too, because I didn't win there, and I want to live by the beach. But the thing is that I became disgruntled. I remember when it first started happening, there was a sales girl that was in the pocket of somebody in management, and she wasn't very good at her job. And I thought we were cool. And she snaked me in the show by selling the same bit to us in the morning show. And I remember calling her that morning and I said, what is this? I'm listening right now and they're doing the same thing. You didn't tell, like, why would you do that?
Yeah.
Really pissed off about it. And she lights me up and I'm going, who the fuck are you to light me? You know, like that kind of thing. Then she goes to the big boss and I'm the one to blame.
Of course.
And that started the downfall of everything. It was like, oh,
Yeah.
he hasn't changed. It's like, she started screaming at me first. What are you talking about?
Right.
So then that was that. And I moved to Atlanta.
It didn't help either that, I mean, the program director was, she allowed me to vent a lot to her and she understood both of our personalities really well. So I think, you know, as you're saying the disgruntled part, I think that is another, you know, not that we're searching for reasons to validate why we did what we did, but I suspect that I might have had some of those feelings as well and kind of took them out on you when it wasn't you. And, you know, I never doubted that, you know, that you went to bat for us and went to get more money for us and things like that. But I think just knowing more about the business, I knew there was no more money for us. I knew they weren't going to do any more for us in that respect. And I knew the only way for growth was for us to get on more stations and do more things that we can't just do on our own. We need the company to kind of push us a little bit, and they're not going to do it. And again, remember that, you know, through with my time with Mike Harvey, I have national syndication experience, so I understand how syndication works, and I understand, you know, what Westwood One did for their talent and their shows and Dial Global, whatever company it was. So I probably took a lot of my frustration with the company out on you, and that wasn't fair either because we were really in the trenches together. We weren't like, instead of, you know, trying to find a way out, which again, I wasn't in the mindset to even get there. But like I've gone through more mental processing in the last 10 years than I did the 10 years before that. And I consider myself a cerebral person that's always looking for deeper meaning. Ask Nate how many conversations for 2-3 hours after McDonald's that we had that was just, you know, about constellations and stars and how that associates to the girl we just met at the bar. So like, you know, I don't think I was even in the space to do it, but there were so many variables that were against us that I think we took it out on each other because we were in each other's face about it. But I mean, I know that none of that was your fault. None of it was directly. None of it was, you know, anything that could have been handled any differently. I mean, we were the people we were.
Well, I'm such a non-complacent person. And when you get put into a complacent situation,
Sure.
and you know where the ceiling's at,
Yep.
no option of a sunroof.
Exactly.
Me personally, I become disgruntled, and then every little thing that's happening, you know, really gets under my skin. So let me ask you something else now that we're so much older and wiser and much more grayer.
Sure.
With your wife, right?
Mhm.
Does she believe like any of the stories that you share with her about our bar days or the women that because Bull pulled some really hot chicks. And I remember one girl in particular, I think she was a cokehead, but she was really, really hot. And I asked her one night, I was like, what do you, you know, not that I was trashing. I was just like, what is it that you like about Bryan? And she go, I'll never forget this. I'll never forget where I was at. I was at Latitudes upstairs, that back bar by the corner where we used to hang out. And she looks at me and she says, I like his fingers. They're fat.
Oh my God. I remember that. Jesus.
I was like,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
that's cool.
Whatever. Oh,
I
look at
was
it.
like, that's cool.
I mean, well, yeah, what a thing to say you like about a person. That really makes me feel good as a man. Like, oh my, I have big fat fingers. I have orgasm hands. No, that's not what I'm looking for in my life.
The Orgasm 5000.
That's what you said. I was like, all right, that's cool. But do you ever share those experiences with your wife? Because I tell my wife and our kids, I'm like, dude, there was once a time I was Big Daddy Bang Bang.
Mhm.
And they were like, no fucking way. You're too much of a tool. You're telling dad jokes. You're fucking 2022 Limp Bizkit. You're telling dad jokes at the dinner table.
We don't talk a lot about the radio stuff very much. Definitely not. Yeah, I mean, we don't go into a lot of it. It was another person, and me and her are both of the understanding that we were probably in the same place, same time. She worked with Jeff Hansen with Creed when he was touring with them, and she was very closely associated to them and the band and their whole operation there. And the music scene and everything in Orlando, we were all probably in the same place at the same time sometimes. But we both agree that we would not have jived. We would not have liked the people we were at that time. So we kind of, if something comes up, that person you're talking about, I've mentioned that person before. That person's also from Long Island, where my wife is from. So, we've mentioned that before, but those things are so far in the past for me that like they were, again, like, right, I hate to be a broken record, but they were really conducive of the person I was at that time, right? Like that. And I'm trying to be cautious because I don't want her, like, for instance, I don't want this person to see this and think that there's anything negative. That person is married. I believe she has a child. I'm very happy for her. I don't know anything else. Every so often I go on Facebook and see if there's anything there. It's closed off. It's private. I just assume that they are happy in their life. Nate, I think, is still associated, so he might know more than I do, but I honestly, truly don't care. I want everybody to be happy. But those things were, but as far as the substance behind that, like not the literal substance, like you just said, but like the substance behind it was really vain for me also. I didn't want to get close to anybody. I had so many fucked up things in my head. Let's have another conversation about our, the synced tracks of childhood that we had in our own ways. But I had a lot of things I had to figure out. I had to figure out my relationship with my dad and my mom and just myself, putting the confidence in myself to be who I am today. I was nowhere near that at the time. So being able to have, people around me, women around me, who were arm candy, for lack of a better term.
Yeah, you always had like the hottest girls. That porn girl. She was like, I was so wanted that girl so bad, and she liked her buddy Magic Man more than me. And I was like, what is this guy? Like fucking 5 minutes away from being homeless. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, you dodged the bullet there.
I was like, I'm on the radio and I have a Lexus. Like, come on.
Those card tricks. Come on, he's better.
Oh,
No.
dude, it was a car trip. I just went last time I went back down to Orlando, which was last October. I went out to his glass blowing shop in Apopka.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive what he built there.
Oh my
It's
God.
incredible. I'm so proud of him.
Amazing
Incredible.
what he did.
Yeah.
And his wife, girlfriend.
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 Yep.
So sweet, so nice.
Yeah.
It was good seeing him, and we've stayed in contact since and whatnot. But we did I did a show there from the glass blowing place.
That's awesome that you did that. I had been trying to encourage him to have people come in there and do that kind of setup, because you probably have a Roadcaster or another portable board that you can just pop up and do a pretty high quality. Because I also know, and I'm sure your listeners and your viewers, or whatever you refer to them as, already know it. You have another thing I think we had in common, we have a high bar for quality, making sure that what we put out there is top notch all the time. So you're able to do that in a place like, can I say the name of the place?
Yeah,
Old Kinderhook?
Old Kinderhook, right?
Old Kinderhook, yeah. So, he's got that awesome space, and like, have people come in and do that kind of thing. I was excited to see you did that. I did see that. I do keep track of what you do.
Well, that's like one of the bonuses of this, which I really enjoy. I'll take my equipment down when we go see Nate in Mexico, in the Bahamas. I just have it in a hard shell case, and I've got a duplicate pretty much in my studio with, yes, a Roadcaster and, good microphone, and just pop it up and we record and do our thing. It's on location, and it's a great tax write-off too.
Totally. Right?
So,
Dude, I started an LLC last summer too. Oh my God.
So
where have I been all my life? I should have done this 10 years ago.
do you remember, Bull, the bit of all bits that I said that I always wanted to do on the air at some point before I either retire or die? Do you remember what it was?
Porn or tennis? No.
No.
I don't remember.
I always said that I wanted to get my biological father on the air.
And not be Jerry Springer?
And not be Jerry Springer. Yeah.
That was great.
I remember. That was a good one.
So, or somebody in my family. Well, just recently, my biological half brother from my father reached out to me. I have now a relation. I have a new family, kind of. I have a relationship. Like, we send each other prizes. Like, I send him Old Bay goldfish, and he sends me sous vide equipment.
That's, man.
Isn't that cool?
Man, I'm about to get emotional. I'm very if I do, please don't make fun of me. I don't think you will. I think that's so awesome, dude.
Is that great?
That's incredible, man.
So my wife and I were binge watching Ozark. This has been quite some time now, and I'm sitting on the couch. She gets up to go to the restroom, and I had been following my brother, this new brother, on Facebook for some years,
Right.
and we were friends. I just didn't think he knew who I was. And so he was out at a baseball game with his wife, our father, which is weird. Sounds like I'm praying, and his mother. And I liked the picture. And I went back to playing on my phone, waiting for my wife to come back. And I get this message on Facebook, yo, from him, yo. I'm like, yo. And he goes, do you have some time to talk? And I'm like, do you know who I am? Which is really a douchey thing to say. But I really meant, like, do you know who I am? I'm like, your brother.
Yeah.
And he goes, yeah, I've known who you are for years.
Wow.
So my wife's walking in at this time and I'm telling her, and she goes, you better put your shoes on and put a dip in, because she knows it's going to be a long conversation and I pace and I need a dip.
Yep.
So I was like, yeah, when can you talk? He's like, coolest thing ever. I'm behind the windshield for a while. I can talk now. Like, I'm driving behind the windshield, like cool lingo.
Wow.
Yeah. And so we talk, and ever since then we've talked, and we're trying to work out.
Wow.
He's told the rest of the family that we're talking, and the father is a little hesitant right now, which is cool. Needs some time. I think the other siblings are kind of cool with it. I don't know. I'm taking direction. So we're trying to figure out a way, if anything, for me to go up and hang with him.
That's incredible, Jason. I'm sure also the fact that it was such an instant conversation was a good thing, because you didn't have time to be anxious about it or sit on what's going to say this or that. He said, I'm ready now. And that's it. And you went into it.
The biggest problem I had in that conversation was not ending with brother. Like, what's up, brother? You know, because he's technically my brother.
Yeah.
But you didn't want to, I was like, don't say brother. Don't say brother. Like, I'm a fucking wrestler. Like, I'm Hulk Hogan.
It's funny you mentioned that. Like, we take a lot of parallels from TV shows, right? You know, we see shows and characters and we see associations and we equate them to our life. I had a moment involving you, which is why, like, I knew that we would reconnect at some point. Especially, you can ask Nate, the times I seen him, I always was, very, I was very curious about how you were doing and things along those lines, etc. But I guess I'm nervous about even sharing this. Do you watch Cobra Kai at all?
Oh, love Cobra Kai.
So in the first season, it might have been the second season, the episode where they show Johnny as a young kid listening to Poison or Motley Crue,
right?
Just being bombasted by this asshole of a rich father who was his stepfather, along with his mom, who was young and was doing what she had to give him a life, etc. And I was just like, fuck, this is Jason.
I'm Johnny.
So much of it where he's got a great heart. You look at Karate Kid, the original, you can easily see how Daniel's the asshole in the whole thing. But you see how he's not a bad person. He's in a survival mode all the time. He's protective of himself and his feelings, and he always wants to do good by people. And like at that moment, I was like, shit, like that has to be so much of a. I'm so glad I got to share that with you, Jace. Like, from the minute that you said we were going to come on, I was like, I hope there's an area to share this, and I hope it's received the right way. But like, maybe it was the music, maybe it was the hair, maybe it was the 80s kind of style that you probably engaged in as well. I just saw so many parallels there, and I was like, man, like we were never in a position to let our guards down far enough to really truly dive into it. And it's probably not a conversation for radio. In the radio we did. Right now it's a great spot for it. But yeah, I drew so many parallels from that. And I really, like, I think the first step to rekindling and understanding is understanding, really truly trying to understand the other person and who they are and why they are. and that was, yeah, like right from the beginning. And I wonder now that I said that, if you agree or if you disagree, or if there's anything to that.
No, I mean, you're right. We both have that in common with making parallels. I do that with Brandon all the time with the donkey and Shrek. And so I would I'm sorry, Brandon. I just had to get that in. I, I, I I think that there's a lot of truth to that. I always say to people with me is I'm misunderstood. Nate's a survivor of me. He's gone through, he's seen one side of me. He's definitely seen a different side of me. And it's funny because Nate and I just the other day, we were talking some business stuff. Now, Bull, you don't know Nate as the business guy at all.
I don't, not really much at all. No.
You know Nate as the stoner munchy, let me go bang some chick on the beach guy. So,
hey, dude, what's going on, bro?
Dude,
Hey, bro.
just fucked her on the beach. Yeah, dude, fucking, it was cool. She was able to put a watermelon up there. It was really neat. So that's the Nate that back in the day. Nate. So we were having this conversation the other day, and I'm listening to him talk business and the understanding of broadcasting and radio and what we're doing now and what we're trying to achieve. And what did I say to you, Nate? What did I say?
You were just like, I just love hearing you talk like this, or something along those lines. Like, I've never seen this side of you, or whatever.
I go, I'm so proud of you. I love hearing you talk like that because, you've just come such a long way. So, to see your perspective or your idea of like what I was, I think you always kind of understood me. The problem is I never fully understood you. And that was my biggest issue. Similar to Johnny's, it takes him a minute to figure it out.
Sure.
And
Sure.
that unfortunately for me, it's always, a day late and a dollar short. And then the baggage is too much to handle and you're kind of just left on the side of the road. So that's my problem. It will always be my problem. Ongoing, it will be my problem, unfortunately.
I think right now we're the beneficiary, though, of a society that elongates youth, and we definitely took advantage of that and stayed young as long as we could. And now we have a lot of years to be old men and get to that level and continue a friendship of understanding, because it's never too late to get there. The genuine respect and desire to know you more is always going to be there, because we spent a lot of time together. Like I watched your dog. I stayed in your home. I had a key to your house. Like when you handed me that, I was like, this isn't the right key. Like something's not kosher about this.
See, Brandon, how big of a deal that was when Nate brings that up? How big of a deal it was to get access to my house and to walk alley?
It's true. The Koi Ponderosa. Yeah.
Yeah. Bryan, I often tell the story when I was an intern and I was first allowed to go let out Jason's dog at he's out of town or something like that. And I remember I told Prince at the time, I was like, oh yeah, I'm going out, let Jason's dog out. He's out of town. He's like, he gave you the code to the door? Like, really? Like, dude, you don't understand how big that is. That's a huge fucking step, because he was very private at the time. But yeah, I mean, I am who I am from both of you guys. You guys were my mentors, and I've learned everything from both of you. So this is great. I gotta tell you, I've been like kind of the broken home kid for the last few years. So like you guys are my two dads, and maybe at some odds for a while, but and I've been trying to say, you guys, you're so similar because you're so passionate about these things. So it just makes me really happy to see come back together and have these conversations.
Do you talk to anybody from the old show still? Cool.
I talk to Prince regularly where we can. Time difference. He was in my wedding as well. Still keep in touch with Otto where I can.
I saw a picture of him on social media the other day with Jack.
Jack, yeah.
I thought that dude was not Jack, but I thought he was dead.
Yeah.
Because did you know his ex-wife reached out to me to try to bury him, and I said to her, I was like, I want no part of this.
Well, I appreciate you doing that. And for the sake of the whole situation, I don't want to talk about it, but I appreciate you doing that, because that's been kind of a mess of a situation for him. So
yeah, I mean, like I had no idea what was going on, and nor did I care, because both of them trashed me when I left. I'll never forget the last text I got from that dude, the day that he was quitting or something, or it's like his last day or whatever it was. We just done a broadcast at Universal, I think, or something, and he had texted me this fairly long, lengthy text and just ripped me to shreds. And my response was LOL. And that was the last communication we had. And I was like, fuck you, dude. I saved your ass. You were out of work and I hired you. I was like, I don't know what your deal was. You're lazy as shit too. Now, little did I know I'd later in life find people lazier, but it just like blown away. And so, and then he just like disappeared. Like, and then his ex-wife, who was like a bigger trasher of me than anybody, for whatever reason, she has the balls to reach out to me and go, hey, we're going through this messy divorce. Can you write me a letter? I'm like, I want nothing to do with this. Fuck that.
Well, I appreciate you staying away from that. That was a mess. That's a mess. I feel for him with that. But yeah.
Oh, is that her thing? And I didn't think you don't have to talk about it.
I just uncomfortable talking about it.
Okay.
Yeah. But nonetheless, I still keep in touch with.
What does he do for a living? How does he make money?
I'm not sure. I don't know if I want to talk about that.
OnlyFans.
No, it's not. I don't think it's not like that. It's just that, I'll say this. I think anybody that's familiar with Otto knows that he was a very private person, even on the air. So I don't know that he, would want his life shared in the public forum. I'll say that.
He does crochet work. He'll make you a scarf.
he makes doilies and sells them at farmers markets on the weekends.
He whittles.
Side hustle.
He whittles rocking chairs for Cracker Barrel. He just doesn't want anybody to know it's his work.
Hey, if he does, my wife wants one of those rocking chairs, so I might have to hit him up on that.
They're expensive, aren't they?
Very expensive.
Very expensive,
but very comfortable.
What about Prince? What is he doing?
He is he's in California still, and I think he's been getting involved with some TV production and kind of things like that. I think his wife also does some similar kind of stuff. So he's doing he's doing his thing. I'll say that.
Is he still broken? Wasn't he like broken like his back or something? Because he's like skateboarded or broke dance or something.
Yeah, he's had some complications from his back issues that have been kind of hard for him. But he's still kicking. He's still going. So it's really hard.
What about the drone guy?
He would reach out every so often. I never really got close with him at all. I think he I'm not afraid to say it. I don't know really if he brought what we brought to the table on the same kind of plate that we would have served it on. He was a little bit off the beaten path with the ideas that he had and things like that. But again, he had a law degree, right? So he was making, what he was making an hour there, and he's sitting on a law degree, and it's like, dude, go fucking be a lawyer. Take the bar, start collecting cash, taking cases, and you're in the wrong spot for this. But
yeah, but that one's on
never
me.
stayed in front of him.
He wasn't my hire. That was the program director's hire. Even though he didn't mesh with.
Yeah, I know.
As
Nate knows all about that.
He get hired over you?
Yeah, I was told I basically had the job, and I extended my internship, delayed my college graduating a whole semester, and then they fucked me over and hired him.
Yeah.
I didn't.
And so I had to sit there and work underneath him as an intern for the next half of a year.
Yeah.
Oh, well, shit. Okay. Well,
yeah.
All right.
But that should have been my first sign of how radio is. But now I know. Hindsight is 2020.
Right. I mean, that station, I don't know if you saw it, and I have nothing bad to say about it because I don't want to come across that way. I try to put good out into the world again, but it was always. Let me back up and say this, and I know you mentioned you would want to move back to Orlando. Other than my family being there and a necessity, I am so disinterested in that city and Florida as a whole, really, but that city. And we were kind of in the epitome of what that city is, where there is a level of Disney World in every single thing in that city. So there was, we know what's going on behind the walls in that radio station. A lot of people did. They put a lot of it out there. A lot of cliquey behavior in all of those radio stations. That cluster in general, those radio stations were not really in the national radio and broadcast kind of circle. Look at that Radio Peeps group that we're in, Nate. Like, there's never people from Orlando in there. There's hundreds of thousands of people. There's thousands of people, not hundreds of thousands. There's thousands of talent from across the country. None of them are from Orlando. The people from Orlando never wanted to go to the boot camps and the different things like that. They didn't want to be engaged with the circle. They were from Orlando and it's Disney World and we're this upper level of entertainment. Well, are you? Or are you just looking at Disney with a disgruntled mindset and you're like the anti Disney without trying it? And you're really the same thing. You're just putting lipstick on a pig and you're being cliquey about things. We're talking about, where the ceiling is for where we were at middays at that station. It's the same morning show is still there. The afternoon show is, in essence, still there. Where would we have gone? The midday show who replaced you, us, is still there.
Yeah.
So complacency, mix that with, but it's tough at the same time, right? Because a guy like Johnny Magic's been there, but he's built a life from there. And in effect, he is a local icon in that area. He's done so much for the community. People really love him. There's no reason for him to go anywhere else. But what if you want to do the morning show on that radio station? You're just going to sit there and wait and hope one day he calls it quits? No, you're not. So the whole pay your dues thing, and I know you were heavy on that. You were very heavy on it, but I think it was because you were programmed in that kind of a mindset from your internship. Pay your dues is just a mechanism to keep people at bay while the people who hold the positions are continuing to hold the positions. So
there's a lot of truth to what you're saying. It's one of the reasons why I left, because I wasn't going to make the money I felt like I deserved in Orlando.
Right.
And I wasn't going to get the recognition amongst my peers in Orlando.
Right.
Definitely not from the company then. But because I left and went to a top 10 market, and because I had success in Atlanta, I can say, I told you so.
Yep.
I'm at a point now in my career, not only professionally, but personally and financially, where it's not about getting the brass ring anymore.
Right.
It's about enjoying what I do, continuing to do this.
Personal fulfillment.
Very important. My mental health of not overworking myself, which I have a tendency to do. That's why I've recently okayed the idea of going back to music radio, as long as it's personality driven, because I need time to do this. So it's almost like not volume over value, but volume with value is what I need, but in small, like the podcast. I've already talked to Nate about this. If and when I go back, he's going to be in charge of this. I'm really just going to, come up
with the talent,
get the ideas and come in and do this, but we're going to have people doing everything else.
Sure.
So I want this to be a well-oiled machine. That's why we're continuing to grow the brand and do changes and get more subscribers and get more advertisers and blah. I want this just to work on its own, because I can never get fired from this job.
Right. Exactly. It's yours.
I'm the boss,
Yeah.
I want to be in that situation to have something steady to never get fired from. I was always worried about any radio job I've had. Every 3 years, 5 years, whatever the case may be, or even before that, I was afraid I was gonna get fired for whatever reason. I was terrified.
It's what we dealt with every day.
That's why that's why I adopted the attitude of I just don't care. And it was kind of a gimmick. Some of the people I worked with thought I was paranoid. I was like, I'm a fucking visionary. I know what's going to happen. I called me getting fired here in Atlanta. Both times, so like the day of, I remember going on the air and going, today's looks like probably going to be the last day. You're crazy. Man. It's not crazy.
Why, like, I'm guessing rock radio you would want to go back to.
I can't do top 40, but I would do, definitely not, I can't do sports. I tried that. I was horrible at that.
Sports, that's another thing that like a check mark. I did, I started a hockey brand called Hockey Now, and I did a podcast, and I was the beneficiary of being involved with the Solar Bears. So I had access to the coach and guests and content and things like that. I also had the trust at iHeart, where they gave me a half an hour of airtime on the sports show, etc. But sports is when you're in sports, inside of it, you see how people who are outside of sports, like radio broadcasters who talk sports, it's just a rat race of fandom. You really don't have legitimacy in the sport. You're just a super fan who has a microphone to spew. And when you're inside it, you realize that is like, I wish I could hand pick some of those people and say, go work for an organization. Forget about being on the radio, because I think a lot of it, and I'd be interested to hear what you say. I think a lot of the allure of being on the radio is just hearing your voice out there. But if you don't care about hearing your voice out there to the masses, to as many people as you can, if you can shift that to focus on the people who really care about what you're doing, you're going to do so much better with it. So I checked off sports radio with the hockey brand, and yeah, I could never go
Well,
back and do sports radio.
It was it was like talking politics with a ball. I mean, these
Yeah.
people knew nothing of the outside world, and they used words that they didn't normally use in real life. Like I remember getting into it with this guy off the air. He comes up to me and he used the word demonstrative, and I looked at him and I said, "Well, I'll never forget this." I looked at him and I said, "Fuck, are you? You don't use that word in real life. What the fuck are you using it right now?" You know, and that's just kind of me and my attitude. And he was totally offended. I remember doing a parody song about the guy for the Dolphins and being a bully. And we did, you know, wooly bully, you know, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And people were irate. They don't know how to fucking joke. Like sports became not fun at some point. I don't know when it was, but I would do obviously rock radio. I would even dip into country radio.
I was wondering if you'd say that.
I like the country community. I'd have to brush up on my country music artists, of course.
Kane
but
Brown, you know Kane Brown?
I do know Kane Brown. He
I don't know any others.
unfortunately doesn't know all of Nelly's songs. I saw him with Nelly on CMT one time. He's like,
Yeah, Nelly's a country artist now, right?
well, I don't know. There was like Kelly and Kane or Nelly and Kane Brown, and
Oh my God.
couldn't keep up. So I would do country radio. I'm curious how well I would do there. I would probably, you know, if Bobby Bones could do it, I could fucking do it. You know, so
Let me ask you this though. Do you have to do it? Like, is radio really the best display for your skills? And when I say radio, I don't mean this. This is not radio. This is content. And it's, I know that you probably, because there is a traditionalist in broadcasting inside of you, I think in both of us, just because of the era that we came into it, and we still had the dream of carrying the ball from the 80s 90s radio into the new millennium. Like, I think that's part of what our dream was, and extending that. Reality had different plans. It wasn't going that direction. Do you really think that on the air, over the airwaves, is the best usage of your skills? I'm not sure that it is.
well, if you ask Nate, he's going to say no. He does not. He doesn't want me ever to go back to radio.
Okay.
And there's a very simple answer. If somebody can get me 5 to 8 more sponsors, I don't need to go back to radio.
Sure. That's the hardest part, right? Is trying somebody to sell the product.
But I have a level of living that I need to live,
Yeah.
and that means money. And I now have 4, 5, 6 people to pay. You
Sure.
know, I've got a very bougie daughter that has to have Starbucks 3 times a day. You know, so I mean, I got bills, I got kids. You know.
Yeah. Hey, real quick, I really admire you for your role in those children's lives, because I know where it was when the last that we talked, and when you and her started your relationship, and I really admire you for doing that, and I think that I think it probably from the outside maybe facilitated a lot of the things that molded you to be the person you are, and helped break down some of those walls. I mean that sincerely, Jason, right from the beginning, even when we weren't talking, and the things that I had said, etc. Like, I really admire you and respect you for doing it, because there's a lot of people that wouldn't do it. And I mean, I see the pictures that you share, and I see the kids and everything, and they seem to be very happy children, and without a doubt, you have a huge role in that.
Well, I appreciate that. I told my new brother this. I was like, not to be cheesy or anything, but I think that it was kind of my calling, you know, because when I met Rach, I was like, you know, this is the last thing I fucking want. Some chick with 2 kids. I was like, I'm Big Daddy Bang Bang, man. I'm going downtown and I'm pulling the bitches left and right. I don't need this shit in my life. What are you kidding me? And, you know, and I remind her about this on a daily basis.
Yeah.
And so, but then, you know, I fell in love with Rach the second I saw her when she was in the green room.
I know. I remember when we went to the place for a Super Bowl party, and she was there, and there was someone else that was there that I was assumed that you would be latched on, and then you latched somewhere else, and I was like, okay, that's gonna happen, and that's gonna happen. Like,
well, she was the GM, and one of her waitresses,
right,
dick,
right,
and then she's still at the work. She's right. She's in the room, by the way. So she had to work, but I couldn't stop talking to her.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, we're going downtown, you know, and she's like, well, have fun. and her little waitresses, these hot little waitresses, came with us.
Mhm.
This girl was attached to me, and I was like not interested. All I could think about was Rach, and I'm texting her
remember.
the whole night and stuff, and that was the end of it, And then of course, I fell in love with the kids and Caleb and Ariel's my little princess, So it wasn't part of the plan, but I told my brother, I was like, I think this was my calling, being a kid without a dad. It's good to have a dad in your life, you need that.
Yeah.
Definitely, well, I don't know. I did my best with Caleb, but with Ariel, I think I did.
Your kids, right?
I think I did a better job. Yeah, he's better now that he's in his 20s and is a human being. He still takes fucking 2-hour long showers, but
So do I.
okay, well, let me tell you something. You can't in Georgia. Your water bill is, you're going to be in for a unpleasant surprise with what you have to pay in water in Georgia versus the free water in Florida.
I'm glad you mentioned that because my HOA in Florida covered my water bill, so I never had to look at that. But we have good call. Good call. No more long showers, babe.
Yeah. And it almost got to a point with Caleb where I was going to put a governor on the shower or some Bluetooth shut-off valve.
Wasn't he really he's really into emo music too? Like, was he really into that, to emo music?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, dude, when I would see pictures like with his hair, I was like, oh my God, Jason, the Bret Michaels inside of Jason is ready to rip his hair out.
Well, he's we still, and that's what kind of connects us, is the music. And, we were just talking the other day. He's like, dude, the Smashing Pumpkins are going out with Jane's Addiction. And he knows that I've interviewed Billy Corgan and I have a way to get to him and this and that. And I was like, well, dude, when they, just let me know what I can. And I still have connections down in Orlando, so I can hook them up at the House of Blues. And the Rick and everybody at JRR, they took care of him for Earth Day, birthday, which is very nice. And
Right.
so that's what kind of connects us, is the music,
That's good. Hey, me and my dad connected with hockey. That was another part of why this is so important to me, especially after my dad passed. I was able to, I spent most of my life trying not to be Little Brad, my dad's name. And now I've turned into him, and couldn't be happier. And because of the hockey and because of all these things and the way they manifest and where I am now, that's where our connection came from with my genuine dad. So I can understand how the music was there for you guys.
How's your mom doing?
Mom's doing great. She just turned 65. She is
still baking cookies, still doing cookies.
Gingerbread cookies. Yep. She had a little business with that and had to stop doing it. It's just, starting a business seems like a great idea, and it is. And then when the level of work gets to be too much and the plan to grow is not there, it becomes more of a hassle. So she still does it for fun. She's living in Zellwood, which is just northwest of Apopka. She's a beautiful house, and she's married, and she's just doing great.
She was always great on the air. I always liked to have her. She was so much fun.
Dude, so I sent you that drive with the select so if we had a really good show, I'd go home to iTunes and I'd pull that podcast down and listen back to it. Like, I had a big egocentric part of myself too. I love hearing when I do something really funny. Yeah. So the other bit was I think you shared this, the textophrenia.
Yeah, the text. Yeah,
dude, when she goes on there and you're like, how does that make you feel? She's like, it's breaking my heart. Like, I still fucking die every time I hear that. She was so perfect for it. And she was so timid. She, that poor woman, I had to, talk about what we did in the time when social media was exploding. I had to have a conversation with her like, Ma, listen, I love that you're engaging in my posts and things like that, but there's a following there, and I don't want you to get mixed up with these people. And I talk to you every day, so the stuff on Facebook is not really for you. So she kind of took a back seat and, and was very timid about being involved. But whenever we asked her to do something, she was always, outrageously good.
She was great. Yeah. Prince didn't like having his mom on, and I used to love having Prince's mom on because I made a comment about her nipple one time.
Every time you would make a comment about her nipples.
It was like, what did I say? I used to say it like it was
nipples, because yeah, and then whatever.
But they were pointy, they were always pointy, and I would bring that up, and he would get furious with me. And obviously, I did it every time because it made him mad.
Sure,
and she seemed to be okay with it, but she was a good-looking woman with pointy nipples, and I just pointed it out. No pun, but yeah.
I love her too. She's great. I won't comment on her nipples, but I love her as well.
Okay, well, before we let you go, I think that this would be a good opportunity for Brandon, since Brandon is listening like a fly on the wall, and for us to reminisce and all this good stuff. I'm sure Brandon has something to say. Like you don't believe something, or you have a question for Bull. What?
Well, I was gonna ask about the Savannah Bananas. There's a different
No.
question if you've been there before. Have you been there?
I haven't been to the Bananas yet. I am planning to go to my first Bananas game this summer.
That's a
Okay,
dumb
cool.
fucking question. I mean,
Well,
it's not like he's the tourist director of Savannah. We're talking about our lives here. I mean, of all the stuff you asked about Savannah Bananas, really?
Trying to
Well,
get deep here.
I heard it. I was thinking about it like probably 45 minutes ago when he was talking about the hockey, and I was like, why do they have all these like sports down here? I was like, oh, Savannah Bananas would be good to ask him.
Nate, why do I even? I try to include him on the show. People are like, Brandon doesn't talk as much. As we say, throw it to him, and then he just asks always fucking stupid questions, even with our guests they're on, like other guests.
To be fair, when people hear about Savannah, they often bring up the Bananas first because they're surging in popularity right now with their TikTok, and they had their games on ESPN. It's an outrageously successful and fun thing that they have here with the Bananas. The difference between the Bananas and our team is that we are a professional team. So we will have a level of expectation on the ice as far as the team that is playing. You will be coming to cheer for our Ghost Pirates to win. You go to a Bananas game and you're going for the experience. And it's an outrageously good experience. They do some things like, you know, you'd I'd love to talk about this with you, Jason, either on or off. I think you'd find it very interesting, but going to and attending a live sports event is very much like programming a radio show. That's why it's become kind of natural to me. So the features, everything basically, when you go to a game, everything that happens that doesn't involve the player hitting the puck with his stick is controlled by somebody. And for the Ghost Pirates, that somebody will be me and my team. So we program the different things to keep people engaged and entertained, the trivia, the crash of the game, the different kind of things like that. So the Bananas, baseball is an incredibly hard sport to program because, forgive me if you're a baseball fan, but it's an incredibly boring sport to watch through from beginning to end. Talking about a 4-hour baseball game, you know, a guy's up there for 10 foul ball pitches, and then he's got a 12-minute at bat. It's like, well, what are you supposed to? You can only play bum 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 enough times between pitches before it gets boring. But they've done some things that are really cool for the experience. They have a 2-hour time limit. So the first time the first pitch goes out, the game will end in 2 hours. If it's in the 5th inning or the 9th inning, it will end in 2 hours. Food and beverage is included for free, and the different pomp and circumstance. They do TikToks in the middle of the games. It's really cool. It's fun. It's not a professional sports team, and we are a professional sports team, and we're just excited to bring the other side of sports to Savannah. And between the two of our teams, like Savannah's a really outrageously great community place. You know, I mean, people love it here.
Yeah, and you're not far
Intersports.
from you're not far from Jacksonville, right?
2 hours from Jax, and our sister team, same ownership, is the Jacksonville Icemen. So we'll have a natural ownership rivalry there. We'll have the historic rivalry with the team in Charleston. That's only 2 hours to the north of us in South Carolina. We'll have the in-state rivalry with Atlanta. That's only 4 hours. So yeah, it's a pretty sick spot, like as far as being in the midst of everything.
What is Atlanta? What do we have? Oh, is it Thrasher still? What is it?
No,
used
so
to.
they used to, yeah. So the NHL tried hockey in Atlanta twice. Back in the 70s, they had the Atlanta Flames, who ended up relocating to Calgary, Alberta, Canada, and they're actually still in the playoffs now. And then they tried again in the late 90s with the Atlanta Thrashers, but hockey just doesn't work in Atlanta for whatever reason. Some things just don't work. But you have the Atlanta Gladiators, which is the ECHL. And I believe last I checked, they were affiliated with the Bruins, the Boston Bruins. That is probably still correct. But yeah, you got that right there in your backyard.
Yeah, I know about the Thrashers. I have to hear about it quite often.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
Oh, the Gladiators are affiliated with the Senators,
Ottawa Senators now? Okay, yeah.
Yeah, and then the Thrashers, I guess they turned into the Winnipeg
Jets.
Jets, that's what
Yep.
it is.
Yeah.
So good question, Brent. Wow, way to be on point with all the good stuff that we brought
See how
up.
that went? We just brought it all back around.
You
We're
weren't
gonna
even
talk
paying
about
attention.
Savannah.
You weren't even paying attention to the history lesson that he just shared with you about how you're sitting there going, well, I just had to fucking add something because Jason asked me to fucking say something. He said, fucking deep down, ding, 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 dong. So, I mean, Anyway, I'm very proud of you, Bryan. I'm
Thank you,
very
Jason.
happy for you. I'm going to make it a point because for the most part, I got nothing but time right now.
Great.
I'll pop over to Savannah and see a game, take you and your wife out to dinner, maybe go on a ghost tour too. And
Please.
yeah, I love
Trolley tour, the whole thing. We'll do everything for
the whole
sure.
shebang. I like it.
Yeah.
All right, Nate, you got anything for Bull before we go?
Not really. I'm just glad we're doing this, and hopefully we can do another one sometime soon. Get some updates. Maybe
Yeah.
we do.
Would love
Actually,
to.
maybe we do like a 2-peer event, like a road trip or something to come see a game. That'd be fun.
That means you have to fly from Mexico.
Yeah, they got an airport in Savannah.
Yes, we do. An international airport.
All right, all right.
We're
I'll be
adding more
there.
flights. We're adding more flights all the time.
All right. Do they have Spirit? Because I'm on. I got a credit card.
we don't have Spirit. We have Breeze, which is the new JetBlue airline. Silver Airways comes here, Delta, etc. So,
Well,
yeah.
I'm just telling you, you should pitch it to your guys because Spirit, Ghost Pirates, it goes together. Get them on as a sponsor. Bring them into Savannah.
yeah, for sure.
That's what I was
Can
thinking.
Can I ask you one thing, Jason, before we go?
Yeah.
Do you think that the fact that it's a screen between us is making our first interaction a little bit easier? Like, do you think you would be? I don't know that I would be as at ease if we were face to face, like in person. Do you think anything of that?
I would. I'd have no problem with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's also because I've been doing this screen thing.
Yeah.
You know, I've become used to it and accustomed. Because I got to tell you, like before, the pandemic and Zoom was a thing and whatnot, I was working with people like at the sports station, Randy Cross, for example, and some days he'd be in New York having to do it out of the studio there, and he'd be on
You were doing it.
ISDN, but I wouldn't see him. And I was like, well, why can't we see each other? Like, can't we do that? We got TVs everywhere.
Right.
So finally, the engineers figured it out. I mean, this is like 2013. And so I just thought it was weird and awkward, and I didn't buy into it. I'm like, no, you've got to be here. You've got to be in the studio. That's how we do it. And then more and more radio shows would do shows together because they couldn't stand each other, but they had a brand and one they're in different parts of the country. But since now doing it, I feel like Nate and Brandon are for the most part in this room with me,
In there with you? Yeah.
and when we talk to guests, I'm very comfortable with that too. So yes, to answer your question, we could have been face to face and I would have been as open and honest as I've been here in the last
Awesome.
hour and a half or so.
But
Not
I know
a problem.
I know what you're saying though, because I have my 20-year class reunion coming up here soon. And if it was just on Zoom, I would be like kind of no big deal. But I'm kind of nervous actually to go talk to these people face to face that I haven't talked to in a long time. It's like, what do I say to them or anything? So yeah, I think that face to face would make me a little nervous too.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's different because you're going to have like 50 people come up to you and be like, dude, you remember the one time you put the booger on the locker and then the teacher came out and you're like, no way. And I was like, yeah, remember that?
Isn't that what we've been doing for the last hour though?
Yeah,
Remember
just
that
not
one
in that
time we were in the
voice.
radio station?
It's like the black guy and Can't Hardly Wait. He's like, all right. I'll talk
By
to
the way,
you.
I just noticed your shirt. I love your shirt.
Oh, no, you can't be held responsible.
I know. Did you? So when you asked me, you could tell that I'm not ready to go either. So I'm not trying to take up your time, but I'm really enjoying this. When you text me about that song, did you know it before I replied a couple weeks ago? The Len song, "Steal My Sunshine."
Okay, so
Because I was like, why didn't you just Google it, dude? It's 2022.
yeah, but you're not. That's a episode we do, and they're not supposed to know that I didn't know the song. So
Oh, my bad. Sorry.
yeah,
My bad.
I had one. As the older I get, the more I start to forget things. We were talking about that not long ago. Like, I don't know if it's going through amnesia or what, or just got too much in my mind. But I knew we were doing a top 3, which is an episode we do on Tuesdays. and it was
Great show. I love that idea. Love it.
Thank you. Top 3 songs that scream summer. And the first one that popped in my mind was Lent.
Uh-huh.
And I loved that song when it was on the radio. They shot the video in Daytona Beach.
Canadian kids.
It was just a thing. And my mind went blank. I couldn't think of it. And I didn't know what to Google. Like I thought about it. It's like, what do you Google? Like I didn't know. I couldn't think of the song. I could sing it, but I just, my mind went blank. I was like, well, I'm going to go to the guy that knows more about music than any music historian in the world. And that was my first thought. And like, literally I didn't even try to research it. It's like, I'll just ask him.
Huh?
But I'll tell you, after I text you, before you text me back, it popped in my head.
Yeah, that always happens that
But I
way.
didn't want to text you back and go, oh, never mind, I
I
found
already
it.
got it. Well, I appreciate that. But I knew it. I was like, he had to know it by now.
I was in iMessage purgatory.
Oh, especially I have my read receipts on too. I make it really bad for people, don't I?
I was like,
God.
oh, don't text him back because that will just kill the conversation. He'll think you don't want to talk to him. Maybe like he's thinking just this is a way to say hi. I don't know. It's so much going into this right now.
That's funny. I'm glad you did though, Jason. Like, and it's funny. You know, if you got to go, you got to go. But another thing I wanted to ask you, why was it Bob Saget that brought us back together? Because that's where it started. Was when Bob Saget. But why him? Like, why did he mean so much to me and you individually that was the thing that linked it?
So Bob was part of, I think, the last show that me, you, and Otto did together. That was the show at Universal Studios.
Yeah, that was probably our last one on location that we did together. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that was the last one on vacation. That was a Friday. Yes, that's what happened. So my contract was up, but my deal in Atlanta hadn't been finalized yet because I was supposed to be getting the job that I had for the last 7 years. That had fallen through because they couldn't pull the trigger on making a decision, but the sports thing was on the table and mine for the taking if I wanted it.
Right.
And so we didn't know what we were doing, so we're trying to stall. iHeart, to their credit, weren't happy that I was leaving, of course, but they granted me an extra couple days on the air.
Right.
So Friday was originally supposed to be the last day, and they pushed it off until Tuesday. It was a Tuesday was the last day, I remember. And so that Friday was the last day that Otto was on the show.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the Bob Saget episode, which was a great show. And you remember we did the Full House reenactment as as Danny Tanner.
Incredible.
And then later that night was my first official date with Rachel at Hard Rock. We went to go see him, and then we hung out with Bob afterwards at the Hard Rock bar and all that stuff.
Yes.
So yeah, I know. I walked you by where I got married to my first wife. I know she keeps. So we had to walk over the ground. I figured I'd bring it up, right?
You got to do it, right?
It's like if you drive by the church where you got married to your first wife, are you not going to go, hey, there's the same Mary, your first Jesus Christ of Latter-day people. I mean, that's where I got married. Of course you're going to bring it up. Right. So anyway, so that's why. I mean, it was kind of like end and a beginning. Bob was the end and beginning celebrity in our lives, in my life.
Yeah. He Full House was one of my favorite shows ever. And I remember when he came in and did an interview with the morning show, and we caught him in the hallway and was just like, I never got starstruck by guys. Like, I remember several times he was like, you want to come and take a picture? I'm like, no, I got to run the break and do weather, whatever. You take a picture with Jared from Subway. Glad I didn't take that picture, by the way. But you know, like Bob was so welcoming and friendly, and everybody had the same resonating feeling about him. And I feel like I loved him before and never got starstruck, really excited that he was so welcoming. And just that when he passed, I'd hate to think that there weren't more people in the world who did what you and I have done in the last several months, where, you know, something like that happens and you realize, you know, Bob was such a good guy to everybody. He really connected everybody together. What are we still holding on to any of this for? Are we even holding on to it? We're probably not, but are we, you know, is it time for us to reach out? Everything that everybody's been through in the last 2 years, etc. Like, you know, I just found that to be interesting that of all of the things that it could have been for us to connect, like it was Bob Saget's passing. And, you know, in a twisted way, he's probably grateful for it. And he probably would call us pussies or whatever for using that. But he was awesome. And yeah, when he did those that Full House episode with us, that was fucking awesome.
Oh, it's hilarious. Awesome. Oh my, it's what still today one of my most favorite bits. And you know, and it was, I remember afterwards, you know, we had valeted our cars and we were all waiting for them to bring it up. And I knew what was happening. Otto knew what was happening. We had that we don't really like each other type of thing going on, but we were cordial and professional on the air. And I remember the last time I saw him at the VIP, and I was just like, Well, this is it right here. And I didn't think I would got the text from him later, but I feel like he needed to vent and kind of get the quote unquote last word in, which is fine, whatever. What happened afterwards, though, with the social media, I didn't see that coming. And the only reason I didn't like, actually, it worked out to my benefit that I didn't respond because I think in the eyes of the public, you guys look like the bad guys because
Sure.
the social media stuff. My wife was furious because literally we're walking down. We had just gotten engaged because we just flown out to Vegas, and we're walking down the strip. And I think the first time that I seen something posted, we were like walking right past the Venetian, and you get spotty cell service out there. And she's like, "Have you seen your Facebook?" And I'm like, "No." And it's like 260 messages. I'm reading through. I'm like, "Holy shit!" Like I'm getting roasted here. And just something told me not to respond, just enjoy my time in Vegas. And then everything kind of started happening so fast where when I got to Atlanta in the sports world, it was a different world. I was a suit and tie taking promo shots. I'm not getting caught up in this, internet stuff. And, I remember my program director saying, you don't even respond to this. You're not part of that anymore. You're part of this. And I was like, okay, I'm starting over new. Now, I wish I would have responded, kind of, because I wish I would have kept that social media audience.
Right.
Like, I left behind a huge following on social media, and I think not that long ago, I changed the picture on the page just to kind of, or just like I turned it into a color, like I posted purple just to see a change. And there's people that would reply, go, "Oh, I forgot I followed this page," or "Does this show still exist?"
Still exist? Are you still around?
Just to, so I was like, think there's any way I can go back after all these years and grab these people from the social media and bring them over here?
Have you been able to?
I haven't even tried.
No.
I could now. Like, I
You
think
need to
that,
post this episode on there, and that'll blow everyone's mind.
yeah,
Oh yeah.
that'd be a good idea. I think Nate, you're probably still the administrator for that page.
Yeah, I'm looking at it. Yeah, I still run it, and it has 11,000 followers on it.
Wow.
And now you can merge Facebook pages. So fuck, we could merge them together and just listen to people bitch at us.
How long you been able to do that, Nate? What you been holding out on Jason for?
Yeah, no joke. Merge away. Merge.
Okay. I don't know. Just remember, there usually with anything, half the people love you, half the people hate you. So we've seen that with doing advertisements.
Yeah, I'd be lucky if I were a 50-50 guy. I'm more of a 70-30, so
That's all right.
it's fine. All right,
It's all worked out.
I do have to go,
Yeah, I got to go to a meeting too.
but I want you back on anytime.
Please.
And
please.
if you ever want to come over to Atlanta, we have a place for you and your wife to stay. Not a problem. We would love to. Actually, I'll save this when we get off here. I'll tell you something. But okay. So the business wise, for our Atlanta audience, for our Georgia audience, even for our Florida audience, especially our North Florida audience, but hockey fans,
Yeah.
there's a new professional hockey team in the state of Georgia. They're called the Ghost Pirates. They play out of Savannah,
Yep.
and they're getting ready to start their inaugural season. And Bryan Sklover, not Bull, but Bryan Sklover is the guy there.
Thank you.
And you go and you support him and you buy tickets and you follow him on social media and you say you heard it all from the BS and the conversation that we had with Mr. Sklover. That's what you said.
Absolutely. Yeah. Please email me, Bryan at ghostpirateshockey.com. I will put on the sports hat for a second and do some quick points. We're going to sell out opening night for our inaugural season. The best way to get into that is by becoming a Phantom, a part of our season ticket members. So take advantage of that if you can. Ghostpirateshockey.com is our website, or the email address I just gave you. We have a brand new arena, End Market Arena, which is a world-class facility. We have better amenities than most of the buildings in the NHL. So we're going to put an outrageous show on, and we're going to bring hockey to Savannah. And it's just an outrageous place to visit in general, even if, like, Brandon's going to come for the bananas. So good luck getting a ticket for that, though. Those games sell out months in advance. So
Yeah, and I don't want our audience to get it confused because when Brandon gives out his email address, it's very similar to yours. His is Brandon at buttpirates.com.
I was hoping, I was hoping that's, I'll give it to you. You can take that. But like, how many people have, like, I've shared, because I know you're not like envious of what I'm doing, but they're like, "Oh, the Butt Pirates." I'm like, yeah, that's why you're making $10 an hour voice tracking stations that are irrelevant, and I'm doing what I'm doing because you say Butt Pirates.
But see, I didn't take a shot at the organization.
You
I
did
took a
not.
shot at Brandon because
Amen.
is my punching bag. Adrian,
Sorry,
Scapegoat.
Sorry, Brandon. Sorry.
And Nate and I
Yeah.
were talking about this the other day. It's the only reason we keep you around, so I can do a little comic relief in the middle of the stuff.
Yep.
Blame me when things go bad.
Yeah, you're like the meal between the appetizers and the main course. You know,
Free
Not
bread.
like- yeah, you're like the
Yeah, yeah.
You're free bread.
Oh, that's your new
Appetizer
name.
saver.
That's your intern name.
Free bread.
Free bread.
Not free
Love it.
bird, free bread.
You like that rap music? That sounds like a rapper name. Free bread.
Oh, are you a rap music fan, Brandon?
Oh yeah. I love some
Yeah.
rap.
What kind of where's your top artist right now?
Top artists. Probably like Drake, Lil Wayne, Lil
Okay.
Baby. You know,
Okay.
kind of
Oh.
that mix.
The
Rich-
mainstream stuff.
Rich as fuck. Start from the bottom up, top
He
Drake.
hates my top 3 songs because he's not cultured.
Well, you know what's crazy, Jason, is that especially in hockey, these kids now the attitude that they have is a swag, and they listen to the hip hop music like heavy. The warm up mix for the Lightning is like 3/4 hip hop and rap, and it's. I mean, you listen to some of it, and I'm like, fuck yeah, I'm getting amped up from this too. There's some good stuff there.
That's all my
Not
daughter.
heavy.
That's all my daughter and her friends listen to.
Do
Is
they?
like we were over at a graduation party for one of her friends' brothers. And I'm walking through, and I'm just like, not interested. I got to get out of here. I can't.
I understand.
I can't even go out to my best friend who's a DJ in Vegas, in Hakkasan, the biggest nightclub in the world, or one of the biggest, playing that.
Is he still out there?
He's still out there, yeah.
Because our league meetings are at the end of June. I'll be out there for 5 days. So
If you'd like to go to Hakkasan or Wet Republic or any of those things, let me know, and you can go hang out with DJ Retro on the ones and twos.
I knew it was him still. Had to have been him. Yeah.
He'll give me a microphone, and I have to revert back to my Zuma Beats days from the 90s. And,
Oh, no.
take this game! Make some noise! But turn Rachel on, though. She was like,
Would it?
yeah, oh, yeah.
Let's save more of that for our next conversation, because my wife has a disdain with you from your XL days, but we'll save that for another time because that's an extended story.
Wow, what a great cliffhanger. So
I still got the radio guy in me.
we'll have to get you on like next week then, because I need to hear this. All right. Ghost Pirates, be a part of it, especially for the people here in Georgia. Thank you so much, brother. It was great having you on. It really, really was. I'm glad we're here.
We are.
And this forevermore, because we just don't. I don't think we have the blood pressure for it anymore, to be honest with you.
Me neither. Me neither. There's too many good things to come from a good relationship than there are from a bad relationship. So I'm really excited. And again, thanks to Nate, because he really kind of probably kept us connected together while we were still finding the footing. And I know it means a lot to him. And Nate's just one of the best people I've ever met in my life. So
Thanks,
Oh, thank
guys. Thanks, dude. Happy Friday,
Thanks,
football.
What's going on, dude? I love it. I still have my Digidude Nate beer in my my bar downstairs. I never drank it. I can't bring myself to drink it.
Oh, that's awesome. I'll have to bring in our new one, our Adios Beaches from when we moved to Mexico.
Please do. Please do.
All right, buddy. Got to run. Talk to you
Yep.
soon.
Thanks for having me, man.